The clock strikes 12, I step into the haze. Whispers call me from 1,000 graves. Shadows dance in corners out of sight. I chase the unknown deep into the night. I hunt the fear you dare not face. In the darkness I embrace the trace. The dead, they speak their secrets shown. Welcome to the bizarre and the unknown. A flicker, a chill, a shadowed hand. The unseen lingers where I stand. Through creaking doors and empty halls, I hear the echoes of forgotten calls. I hunt the fear you dare not face. In the darkness I embrace the trace. The dead, they speak their secrets shown. Welcome to the bizarre and the unknown. And the unknown. Eyes that watch from a place unreal, a touch so cold it makes you feel they're near but hidden, veiled in shade. I walk with ghosts
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bizarre and the Unknown. I'm your host, E.D. Testerman. I have been having difficulties. Hey Jeff, I had to cancel and then redo the show. I had problems from the get and go. Was supposed to be backstage getting everything going, lost everything, had to make a new show, got it back, tried to start it, didn't work, had to cancel everything, redo it. So now we're working though. Oh yeah, you do, don't you? Yeah, 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 beards and boogers. Yeah, we'll have to check that out. So earlier I done a test live on the new show for when I'm writing on my books. It's called I forgot what I called it now off the top of my head. Anyways, I was doing it because I was getting set up for tonight's show, looking at the Legiō IX Hispana. For those of you who don't know, that is the Lost Legion. They disappeared in the northern parts of. I see how you are, Jeff. The northern parts of Britain, a couple of years prior to Emperor Hayden putting up Hadrian's Wall. And now the belief is they put up the wall because of what happened to the Ninth Legios. Lost Legion. But we're going to take a look at that because the whole book of my, the whole premises of my book, the the Legiō IX Hispana Caledonian forest is based off of a diary entry that was found by one of the Primus palaces. So when I was thinking about a show, I got to thinking about that. And I was like, man, I want to do a show on this. I haven't done this. Hey, Unreal. Hey, Amy. I haven't done a show on this. So yeah, they went native. That is a theory. We're going to look into several theories on this. But I really want to focus on what this diary entry from this Primus Palace said, because I think that explains a lot. And what Emperor Hadrian did whenever he had gotten a hold of this only documentation known from the Ninth Legios is this diary entry and what he did after he got it. This is what we're going to look into, because I think this is a telling of what happened to him. Not only that, but it's not the oldest, but one of the oldest documentaries of a cryptid out there. Well, cryptid / supernatural. And it goes like this. This is written by Titus Ursus, Primus Pilus of Legiō IX Hispana, in the third year of Hadrian's reign, 120 AD. This will probably be the last papyrus and entry in my diary. Our legion was ambushed in a wild realm called Caledonian Forest and was almost completely annihilated. Half of my first cohort is all that is left of the Ninth Legios. We were pushed into the marsh, and we will probably die here, fighting bravely to the end in the name of Rome and the Emperor. We were attacked by a demonic pack of barbaric Picts. They looked more like wild beasts than humans. Some of them were dressed in animal furs, painted with strange runic signs. Others seemed to be two-legged wild beasts. They tore us apart as if we were made of paper. I saw our legatus and my brothers in arms being eaten alive. I will never forget their screams. The barbarians attacked us unnoticed. Quickly, with the wild fury, they disappeared in the fog, mainly at night. Our shields, swords, and armor were of no use here. The enemy we face seems to be the ancient wrath of some dark gods we have awakened. We should never invade these lands. I hear demonic howls. They are coming. They are coming. And this was his last diary entry prior to them disappearing. Let me get back to your comments for a second. Oh yeah, Amy, it's yeah. Dude, Yingling is awesome. I love Yingling. Ever since the certain company here based out of Missouri done some of the stuff that they've been doing, and then the last one on top of it, I'm now a Yingling connoisseur. So the next part is interesting. So you heard it in there. He was talking about demonic howls and how these people seem more beast than human, and some of them were furs with strange runic readings, and some were as two-legged beast. So, I mean, you're getting all this. This is, to me, straight up says, yes, Yingling Lord Chesterfield Ale. I've never heard of the Chesterfield Ale, but the Yingling, I do drink that. So what I'm getting from this, they were attacked by a pack of either A, werewolves, B, shapeshifters, or both. Now, when you're talking about men wearing skins and having runics and acting beast-like, you can trace that back to a lot of stuff. In Nordic mythology, you've got the Ulfanar, the wolf skin wearers. You got the in Celtic mythology, they talk about the same thing. Oh, that's cool, yeah. I'll have to look into it, Jeff. I'll have to look into it, buddy. Mesoamerica, you got werecats. So there's throughout all kinds of cultures, they have these werebeasts that we're talking about, and this is This is very much what he's describing in his diary entry. That is a good. I didn't think about that, Jeff. I didn't think about that, but yes, it does. But as you can see, I mean, that's another point, another thing throughout history that they're talking about. That is in a epilogue of Beowulf, the 13th Warriors, based off of that. It was. It's a great movie. Yeah, but 13th Warrior is based off of one of Beowulf's epilogues or edicts, not edicts, poems. Sorry, poems. One of his poems. But we're seeing through all these different cultures that they're talking about this type of stuff. Now, for years and years and years, nobody knew what happened to the Ninth Legion. There's multiple theories out there with the Ninth Legion, and we're going to get into some of those. But I think this diary entry from this Primus Pilus, Titus, the Primus Pilus, is telling to what happened to him. And they're not the only ones to talk about this stuff. Now, the Brits fought with the Picts and the Scots. King Arthur is most notable for one of the people who fought against the Picts and the Scots. They even described the same thing. It is also based on on an Arab first-hand account. Yes, genocide. Oh wow, Beowulf was there. I did not know that. That's so. Yeah. It's like a fox and wolf. Yeah. That is actually the character, the main Nordic character in there. That's supposed to be Beowulf. Yeah, I mean, they transform into all these kinds of different stuff out there. So we have to take a look at this and take this diary entry to heart when we're thinking about the ninth Legiō Hispana. We have to take, and like I said, that's what my book's based off, is this diary entry that was found. And this was the only shred of evidence that was ever confirmed found by the ninth Legios. Legios is Roman for legion. So when I say Legios, that's what I mean, is legion, the ninth legion. Yes, they are, Unreal. They are different. The Scottish and the Welsh are different than the Britons. Yes. Now the Picts, I've never had a confirmed theory on what the Picts are, but if they're working side by side with the Scots, I'd say it was probably a form of Scots. Would be my guess. Giving by the descriptions that I've heard, both from British, from Saxons, from Anglos, from Romans, and stuff like that, I am almost willing to bet that the Picts will probably end up turning into the Irish, but the Picts were a form of the Scots, I would say, or they were just a completely different tribe in the northern, because they ruled the northern part of Britain. So they could have been completely something else. Now, we know the Irish are cousins to the Scots. They left Scotland and went to Ireland and became Irish. Is that where the Picts come from? That's possible. I mean, that is possible. I mean, the Scots are even known for wearing blue paint, and this is something that these Picts are very well known for. Yes, Roxanne, they did. They painted themselves blue. So did the Scots. So you can see a combination here of what these things could be. Yes, they were Celts. They were also Celts. They were just a different breed of Celts. They were vicious. Picts were extremely vicious, very violent, rarely lost in a fight. Most people who went against the Picts were scared of them because they were just so free. They fought like beasts. Every single culture that ever went against the Picts described them as being beast-like. Yes, they had tattoos. You're absolutely right, Unreal. So, the reason why I like this journal entry is what I'm going to talk next. Okay? So, a scrap of papyrus written by the centurion Titus Ursus, found on October 120 AD in the Caledonian forest, taken to Rome, where it was presented to the emperor and burned. Why would the emperor burn this? 2 years later, Emperor Hadrian ordered the construction of the wall on the border of the land called Caledonia in northern Britannia. The Legiō IX Hispana was never heard from again. So I think that is a very telling story of what happened to him. So, I mean, because you have to ask yourself, painted themselves blue and fought naked. Yes, they did. Genocide, absolutely. They did. They did unreal. Yes. Hey Don. Um, so you got a legion, a prominent legion. Now let's show you how prominent it is. Let's look into the lineage of the Ninth Legios. Formed during the late Republic, the Ninth had probably started under Pompey during the campaigns in Hispania, which is where they got their name, Legiō IX Hispana. If I saw a blue man naked, I'd fall down laughing. I like the movie The Patriot, Eric, with Mel Gibson. Yes, actually, that's a good reference. Though no ancient source confirms this, by 58 BC, this is records of the ninth. Who's you talking about the Picts, unreal? By 58 BC, the legion had probably served under Julius Caesar when he launched his Gallic campaign and had fought at Gergovia, Alcea, and Pharsalus, where it had helped Caesar defeat Pompey's forces in 48 BC. Caesar even referred to the ninth as his Commentari di Bello Gallicio. Under Augustus, the ninth continued to fight with honor, particularly during the Cantabrian Wars from 25 to 13 BC. Yeah, it was. Its title, Hispania, mostly meant service in Spain, most likely during the Cantabrian Wars, though the exact reason for the design is uncertain. Later, the legion took part in Emperor Caladaeus' invasion of Britain in 43 AD. After it had established a base in New Providence, it participated in campaigns against hostile British tribes. During Boudicca's revolt in 61 AD, the legion suffered a deadly ambush when it attempted to relieve the Roman colony at Calumdonum. The survivors had reformed the legion and was reinforced and returned to duty in northern Britain. Tacitus in Annals 14.32 described the defeat of Roman legion under Quintus Metellus Cerealis during Boudicca's revolt, which is widely believed to have been the ninth, but he had not named the unit directly. For decades, it's garrisoned Ebocorum, modern York, was the name of the place, from which it launched patrols and short missions into hostile territory. Inscriptions, altars, and barracks foundations show its activity there. In fact, the tombstone of Lucius Ducius Rufinus records a standard bearer of the ninth and is one such example which widely dates to the late 1st or early 2nd century. However, no known evidence places the ninth in Britannia after the early 2nd century, as this sudden absence led to the debate about where the legion went and what became of it. Boudica 619. Boudica 619. Sorry. Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. The last clear reference to the Legiō IX Hispana appeared on a building inscription in York dated at 108 AD. At the time, Aulus Platorius Nepos had begun plans for major construction across the province, which later included Hadrian's Wall. Yet the ninth's name does not appear among the garrison forces listed at the wall or later deployment records. Shortly after 108 AD, Legiō IX Victrix arrived in Britain from the Germanic inferior. It became stationed at York, and it occupied the same base that the ninth had previously occupied. It's the sixth. I'm sorry, Legiō VI Victrix. This suggests a replacement had taken place. Rome's policy rarely allowed unnecessary duplication of legions. No, that was the ninth. I'm sorry. No, that is the sixth. Okay. Legions in peaceful provinces such as six Victrix presence suggests that the ninth no longer operated there. Scholars believe that the sixth Victrix arrived around 122 AD during the period when Hadrian ordered the construction of a permanent boundary, possibly in reaction to earlier military unrest in northern Britain. Strangely, the legion does not appear in any other military rosters, including the Notia Dignitatum, which was compelled several centuries later. Roman legions that survived in the 4th century were typically included, even those no longer at full strength. Therefore, the ninth's complete absence suggests that it had ceased to exist by the middle of the 2nd century. So we're seeing how they just vanished. I mean, from writings, from everything, they had just vanished. Who are you asking about? I missed somebody here. Tanya, no, she was last week. I think she was in here. So this is the first theory: death in battle. Some scholars argue the ninth was destroyed during a northern campaign in Britannia. The Caledonian tribes lived beyond Roman control in present-day Scotland and launched repeated attacks against Roman forts and patrols. And attempts to pacify the north during the early 100s may have drawn the ninth into territory where it faced heavy resistance. Inscriptions and archaeological finds around Newstead and other Scottish sites had indicated severe Roman losses during this period. However, Roman authorities may have feared public backlash and therefore did not formally record a destroyed legion. This was very, very common. Very, very common back in these times because it made them lose face amongst the people. Roman historians sometimes admitted defeats, especially under emperors who wished to preserve reputation for military success. There you go. Got hungry, eating onions while... Oh, yeah. I had me some fried taters and onions. Here, the timing of the sixth Victrix transfer strengthens the argument as the arrival of the new legion shortly after the ninth's last record may imply that new troops were needed to quickly restore control. The theory later gained some public attention through Rosemary Sutcliffe's novel, The Eagle of the Ninth, in 1954, and its film adapted the Eagle in 2011. I have that movie. Very good movie. Hey, Kevin. This is a second theory sent to Judea. Another possibility suggests that the ninth had been transferred to the eastern province before Bar Kokhba revolt erupted in 132 AD. This reign had remained unstable after the First Jewish-Roman War, and further unrest demanded the presence of additional Roman forces. During the revolt, Legio's 22nd Diotarina disappeared from records, and the same could have happened to the ninth. Some historians had once suggested that Hadrian moved the ninth eastward in anticipation of the rebellion or to bolster the eastern frontier more generally. If so, the legion may have been wiped out during early stages of the revolt, and its destruction had been absorbed into the border chaos and of the conflict. However, no inscriptions, tombs, or title stamps have been found in Judea to date that mentions the Legiō IX Hispana. Given how Roman legions typically left material traces wherever they were deployed, the absence of such evidence casts doubt on the theory. So you guys, are you kind of seeing what was left? Barbarians ruled afterwards for a long time. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Scott. So we're kind of seeing a deal here. They're guessing. All these people are guessing because there's nothing to do it. The only shred of evidence about the ninth was this diary entry. So another theory is perished in Armenia. Some have looked further east, especially since Trajan's Parthian campaign had began in 114 AD and drew several legions into Armenia and Mesopotamia. Military activity in this region intensified quickly, and Roman forces faced difficult terrain, overstretched supply lines, and determined opposition. Under such conditions, the legion could have been lost, scattered, or merged with others during reorganization. Fragments of inscriptions found in Cappadocia and Syria had referred to officers who belonged to unnamed legions. These may have reflected detachments from the ninth that had been sent east under temporary orders. If the legion had suffered heavy casualties during the campaign or had been merged into another formation during Trajan's reconstruction, it might have stopped operating as an independent unit. Known participation, known participating legions include the first Auditrix, the second Tarinia Fortress, and the third Cyrenica, but the ninth is not listed among them. Still, no sources especially names the ninth in any Eastern campaign. Roman military traditions valued unit recognition, and most surviving sources mention participating legions by name. The absence of direct reference in Armenia or Parthian context had left this theory speculative, even if it remained within the realm of possibility. All kinds of crazy stories have happened with the Romans in their history, fighting each other, decimating other tribes, and being decimated nuts. Yeah. And that's a thing. Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right on that. Yeah. And that's the thing is, they could have been, they could have been almost completely annihilated. And the people that actually got away could have somehow, yeah. Hey, Carl. It's this is no, this is actual historical records of the theories that could have happened, what could happen to the ninth. But if anyone had survived the massacres in the Caledonian Forest there in York, they could have scattered and rejoined other legions in other places. That is a possibility, but we're just not finding anything concrete on that. So we have to keep that in mind. Um, so there's the other theories go. They were disbanded, absorbed into another one. We kind of heard similar to that. Oh, cool, Amy. Um, but what I'm really keen on is this journal entry. And I'm focused on this because this is the main concept of today's show, just as it's the main concept of my book. And that is where they were fighting against beast on two legs and people that wore skins with strange runics on them that fought like beast. Okay, so what did the Romans call werewolves? Does anybody got an idea what Romans called werewolves? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to see if somebody knows. That is exactly right, Don, and that's my point. That's why I'm going right back to what this diary entry is about. Can any Wolvers? No, it wasn't Wolvers. Jonas, I forgot. Let's take a look into Roman werewolves, shall we? It's difficult to say precisely when the story of werewolves first developed. The twins Romulus and Remus had been suckled by a she-wolf, and so the idea of the human wolf hybrid was ingrained in Roman psyche from an early age. Not lichens. You're close. Kevin, you got it. Kevin and Amy, you both got it. Versipellis. Versipellis is what they called werewolves. Lichen was a king that was cursed by Zeus. But yes, Amy and Kevin got it. Versipellis. Yes, Jeff. So I've often theorized this. I believe I was on Jessica's show when I had talked about this one time. And even though they have depictions of them actually suckling a female wolf, could it have been a werewolf? That would make more sense how they can survive off the milk of a werewolf. Suddenly, she wolf sounds like a bad idea. Just saying, yes, Scott, yeah. But if it was a werewolf, then it's not that far fetched. So could this be what happened to Romulus and Remus? This is one of my theories. We're about ready to talk about that, Don. Yes, they did. They weren't known as dogmen, they were known as versiliffs. Dogman was coined in 1984. Back prior to that, everybody called them werewolves. Whatever language it was werewolves. I'm married to Saint Christopher, and I liken him very much. He is my favorite person. Yeah, Joanne. I believe it was Jessica's show when I produced my theory that I thought it wasn't an actual wolf, but a werewolf that Romulus and Remus had suckled on. Shapeshifters were quite common in Greek and Roman mythology. The metamorphosis from human to animal form often occurred as a direct result of divine punishment. The gods condemned an individual on the basis of pride, boastfulness, or blasphemy. Pliny the Elder described the lycanthropic shape, shifting a man into a wolf by the gods, following an act of cannibalism. Early in the first century AD, the Roman poet Ovid wrote, Metamorphosis is in which King Lycan, from whom he got the term lycanthrope, offered the gods by serving them human flesh. His punishment was being transformed into a wolf, so could continue his disgusting eating habits. So this is kind of a little bit of history there. Let me get back to my other page here. Romans kind of took on the Greek culture much. They've always been closer to each other in that area of the world record. Yeah, and that's where you'll see the merges of the two. You'll see it quite often. No, not today. I haven't, Scott. I remember seeing knights with armor and a helmet that was shaped like a wolf's head. Yes, that was actually a common one amongst some very skilled knights. Versus pilus, you might be right. I'm trying to remember. So Romans referred to werewolves as versipellis, which means turn skin. That's what I was thinking of, turn skin. Where is what the term means. This term was used in early Christian writings to describe individuals who could transform into wolves. Roman terminology for werewolves in ancient Rome, werewolves were often referred to as versipellis, which translates to turn skin. This term was used in various writings to describe individuals believed to have the ability to transform into wolves. One of the references is Augustine of Hippo. In the city of God, he used the phrase in lupum fiusi maratunum, meaning changed into the form of a wolf to describe werewolves. Ovid's Metamorphosis, the Roman poet Ovid tells the story of King Lycaon, who was transformed into a wolf by Zeus as punishment for his actions, contributing to the mythological background of werewolves. And this is where you see lycanthrope come in. These terms and stories reflect the culture beliefs surrounding the lycanthrope in Rome society, linking transformations to divine punishment and moral failings. Let's see if I missed anybody here. Yeah, Jonas side. They're interesting. Hey, Bobber, how's it going? I'm glad you're liking it, buddy. I'm trying to see if I missed anybody or comments. I remember seeing. Okay, yeah, I said document. I know, but I can't spell what they're called. Okay, looks like I'm caught up on that. Oh, you got to have spicy chili, man. The only way to do it is spicy. Okay. I think I'm caught up now. Okay, good deal. When I think Unreal says, when I think of werewolves, I often think of other possible were beings. Yeah, there's multiple different kinds. There is. They're all over. I mean, they're talked about in so many cultures. Um, yeah, yeah, Bobber. It's got some. Heck yeah, man. So when we're looking into this, oh man, I accidentally dropped this down. I have to pull it back up. The Primus Palace Titus Ursus of the Legiō IX Hispana, when he wrote, he said, and this is his words. Let me get back down to it. We were attacked by a demonic pack of barbaric Picts. They looked more like wild beasts than humans. Some of them were dressed in animal furs, painted with strange runic signs. Others seemed to be two-legged wild beasts. They tore us apart as if we were made of paper. I saw our legatus and my brothers in arms being eaten alive. They're talking literally. He's talking about these people being eaten alive. I will never forget their screams. The barbarians attacked us unnoticed. Where is that? I mean, how many times we've heard this same, even in modern times, these things appeared out of nowhere, quickly and with wild fury, then disappeared in the fog. There's another one that's very common with this fog. mainly at night. Once again, even to this day, we're hearing the exact same stuff, even to this day. And this was written in 120 AD. Our shields, swords, and armor were no use here. I mean, that's got to be something pretty daggone strong to basically tear armor like paper. The enemy we face seems to be an ancient wrath of some dark gods we have awakened. We should never invade these lands. I hear demonic howls. They are coming. They are coming. I mean, that's his words from his diary. I mean, I don't know what you all think. Yeah, actually, there was werewolves. I mean, and those were actually in Nordic mythology just as much as Celtic. Unreal, there was. If God is the salt of life, evil is the spicier stuff for sure. Oh, I always carried the pins and fast sneakers. Oh yeah, wear a koi wolf, yeah. And so I mean, you have to consider this. So I mean, he wear coyote. There's actually those two. Yep. So if this is what he's writing, and he's literally writing it as he's hearing these demonic howls, and says they are coming, and then you get nothing else from this, that pretty much tells you right there what happened. That's what I'm going off of, and I kind of believe this. If this guy's literally writing this, and you hear nothing, I mean, they vanish from all traces of history, and they're talking about these Picts that were animalistic, and some of these were two-legged beasts, and they're howling. That tells you they were fighting werewolves, or what we call dogmen nowadays, or the combination of both. Because I mean, once again, his exact words were, um, we were attacked by a demonic pack of barbaric Picts. They looked more like wild beasts than humans. That could have been the werewolf. Some of them were dressed in animal furs painted with strange runic signs. That would tell me that's probably going to be a werewolf. But he also describes another type and says others seem to be two-legged wild beasts. So, were they fighting werewolves and what we call dogmen nowadays? Is that a possibility? I think it is. The two could have joined together against a common foe. That could be one of the few times in history we've actually got a writing confirming both werewolf and dogman joining forces against a common enemy. Because you got to think about how these Romans were. They were ruthless. They went in and just straight dominated an area. Anything that was a threat, they would dominate them. So if there were dogmen type people in that area during that time and the Romans came in, they would see them and attack them. They were a threat. They were a threat to the emperor's reign of that land. So if there is the Picts that were shapeshifters and then turned into werewolves and dogmen, I can actually see this being a reason for the two combining forces to fight Rome. That's just a theory of mine. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, Amy. Yeah. Let's see if I missed any comments here. Okay, don't look like I did. Good. I don't know what you guys think on this, but that's kind of what I'm seeing in this writing. And I might be overthinking it. I'm not telling you this is what happened. I'm just telling you this is what it reads. And this is how to me, it reads. Yeah, Rome was only peaceful and you acknowledged their control. Absolutely, yeah. So, what do you guys think? I'm kind of curious. Hearing his diary entry and what happened to him, what do you guys think? Do you think it was Dogman? Do you think it was werewolf? Do you think it was both? Amy says, "I think you're reading it pretty good, buddy. I think you got it figured out." I'm possibly. I mean, it's a possibility. Hey, Don Moore. I can believe Rome recognized two different canine species, probably both. Yeah, I really think so. I really do. Joanne says, "I'm not sure what it was." Hey, Bounty. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but if you're looking at it literally how it's written, it makes sense. I think it was human battles crazed like berserkers. Yeah. You mean berserkers? Ophanar? You're probably referring to Ophanar in this case. See, berserkers is a Western term. Um, there was berserkers, there were Ophanar, there were Boar clan, Raven clan. There was many different types of those. They just all Western civilization referred to them as berserkers. They were actually different. It's not actually berserker; it's berserker, which was the Bear clan. So in this case, I mean, it's not saying that the others weren't a different. They could have been. They could have been different werebeast, and it could have been more than just werewolves. It could have been berserkers, and it could have been boar, wereboars, and all these others. It could have been all that. That's yeah. I mean, that is true. I'll give you that one. If we're looking on the wolf side of it, it'd be an Ophanar. Story short, as a kid, we went following a massive black dog, and it stood up as a man walking in his house. Holy cow, Bobber! Wow, it could be a curse. Yeah, some weird rare FP DNA. Yeah, I mean, so you collected DNA from that? This stuff is we think of nowadays, but we don't realize how much in history this stuff was there. And it's written. I mean, proof's right there. It's written. Don Moore says the ancient ones in India were referred to as dog-headed beings. Yep, but as far as whether they were more humanish, werewolves don't know. Marco Polio said, and Men Islands had most deep head ones. Yeah, most of your depictions of the dog-headed people in India were what we call dogmen nowadays. They weren't werewolves. They were wolf, dog-headed people 24/7, and they had their own tribe. And the people in India feared them. They said you do not want to fight these things because they are extremely fierce in battle and deadly. They would trade with them when they would come down, but they wouldn't fight with them. Dog, wolf, and man have a long story relationship. They absolutely do, Bobber. Yes, they do. So yeah, it. I mean, I'm pretty much believing they fought both their werewolf side and the dogman side. I really think they did. I mean, the most common picture depicted with the Legiō IX Hispana encountering these dog-headed soldiers, or I don't remember if they may not be the Legiō IX Hispana, one of the Roman legions, which I think it is. Cynocephali. There you go, Roxanne. That's another one. Yeah. Nope, hyena isn't canine. Even though it's classified as canine by a lot of people, they are not canid. Um, but I'm pretty sure that is the Legios Nithis Hispana, but I could be wrong. is actually a dog man, not a werewolf. So it makes you wonder. But I really think that they encountered both on this one. I really do. Uh, I accidentally exited out one of them, so I got to see if I can find it again. Yep, she's good about that. Yeah, yeah, unreal. I can see that. I had something up here and I accidentally clicked out of it, so I'm going to try to find it. Is got some recent discoveries, but it's talking about finding small scraps of the Legiō IX Hispana in other cultures. Problem is the amount of them was so small, it could have been fragments that somebody had picked up along the way and either traded or misplaced. So, and that's something we have to consider too. Archaeologists don't consider that all the time. They do sometime, not all the time. They want to be known as the people who discovered, um, the history of the Lost Legion. That they're automatically going to go, I found proof here, so this means they were here. No, that don't mean they were here. That means a fragment of them was there. Could that have been survivors that had escaped Britannia and joined up with that legion there? Could have been them needing something, so they traded that and it just finally made its way there. That is all possibilities of what could happen there as well. It does not prove. There is no proof but that one little piece that's got their logo on it to even suggest that they're there. So you cannot, off that one piece, say they were here. You just cannot do that. That is poor archaeological studies. Hey, William. Oh, man, I ain't here now, bro. So, I mean, that was very common back in them days. And another thing that's common is if they were conquered and they were annihilated, that doesn't mean their stuff just disappeared with them. No. People's going to take that stuff and trade it. And that could be how that piece got to wherever it was. I don't know if I've ever seen that movie. I think I've heard of it, Bobber, but I don't think I've ever seen it that I can think of. So, just kind of a quick recap, William. I was reading that diary entry from the Primus Palace, Titus, and he was talking about, these beast-like Pict warriors and creatures that walked on two legs and hearing demonic howls. That's probably the best way to put it in short term. I'll have to take it. I'll have to take a look at it. If I can remember, I'll have to take a look at that, definitely. So, I mean, we have stories of them from 43 AD all the way up to 120 AD, and then you hear nothing else on them. And like that one was talking about earlier, if they disappeared or brought disgrace, then they were completely taken out of written language or written documents. So that even leads more to they were completely annihilated there in the Caledonian Forest. And that's the area of modern day York. And then 2 years, you got Emperor Hadrian, which burns that diary entry, which means he's getting rid of the evidence of what happened to him. Because if other people get a hold of this saying, hey, there's some demonic beast in this area, we're not going up there. We don't give a damn what you say. Look what happened to the fabled Ninth, the most powerful legion in all of Rome, were completely annihilated. Roxanne. Writings say Alexander the Great fought them. Yep. Yes, author did too. Yep. You both are right on that. You never know. That one book, The Sentinel, might be about somebody we just talked about in chat. The true history of somebody we talked about in chat. I guess we'll have to read the book to find out. It is. So I mean, you got all these cultures talking about it. When you hear this diary entry, it's not far fetched. That's what what they ran into, and knowing the power that these things have to rip through them and their armor like paper is not far fetched. It really ain't. The Roman armor of that time was good for the weapons of that time, and then that's the key word: weapons, not supernatural. I'm talking about or cryptid. I'm talking about weapons. So yeah, it could have protected against spears and arrows and slings and all that stuff. Yeah, it was good against that stuff. Not perfect, but it was good. It was better than nothing. But you run into a werewolf or you run into a dogman or any other type of werebeast, that armor ain't going to be crap. The last Romans were the east half, which was not in Rome itself. They were the first to have cannon fire against their walls. Byzantine was it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. During the Byzantine Empire. Yeah. See, Rome did fall. And then it did gather itself back, but it never became a superpower prior to it falling against the barbaric horde. I forgot who they were. One of the King Arthur movies is based off of that. It's the one where he's the actual emperor, but he's still a boy, and he was attacked by the barbarians that overthrew Rome. I can't remember what barbarian group that was. Anyways, that did happen. And then they came back, but they never came back to the power that they were previously. Just as America is on a collision course to fall. All great empires do at some point. We just got to break that curse. The Dark Ages followed by the Renaissance. Yeah. Yes, it was a Germanic one, Don Moore, but I don't remember who they. Okay, it's going to bug me till I find it. Hold on. Visigoths. Yes, Jonocide. Thank you. Visigoths. Yes. The Visigoths overthrew Rome. And the Roman Empire did bounce back from it. But like I said, they weren't near the superpower that they were prior. I mean, the Visigoths did their job good. They completely whooped the hell out of Rome. That's okay. As soon as I seen it, I knew exactly who you was talking about. Yeah, it's the Visigoths. Yeah. They were a barbarian group that was formed into the Roman army. That was the thing that Rome did. And this is one thing that pissed me off about America because we do the exact same thing. They would conquer a group of people and integrate them into their culture and their military. Well, now you've taught them the military tactics that beat them. And then the Visigoths did exactly what I knew they would do because that's what everybody does. They use them tactics to defeat their oppressor. Some curses can't be broken. Some curses can only be transformed. Yeah, that's true. I hope you did, Roxanne. You've been subscribed to my channel. I'm just messing with you. I know you're talking about. The Lombards were one group of barbarians that conquered. Yeah, that sounds familiar. But it was the Visigoths. The Visigoths is the one. The Lombards, if I remember right, were the ones that almost conquered Rome, but were defeated back at the end. The Visigoths did it. When you follow greed as your path, it eventually leads to a downfall because you're only allowed so long to harm innocents and learn what you're doing wrong. Yeah. I can't help it, man. I couldn't resist on you. Left that open for me, Roxanne. You left that open for me because you didn't attach a name to it. But when you got to consider this stuff, you know, you really do. But that's where my yeah, she's always doing Erica calling me my daughter's name. Last I checked, I'm not my daughter. I'm me. Huh. Yeah, she does. She calls me my daughter's name all the time. My oldest daughter's name is Erica. She's named after me. She's always calling me. She's always doing that. But I forgot what I was going to say. I think the Visigoths sacked Rome twice, and the second time is when they stayed. Yes, I believe you're right on that. Unreal. I think you're right. It was either Visigoths sacked them twice or the Lombards sacked them twice. Now I'm second guessing myself. I know the Visigoths are the ones that finished it off. They're the ones that made it happen, or they were the second one to do it. Sure, Roxanne, we'll go with that. So, you guys got any? What's your thoughts on this so far? You got any questions about these werebeasts and or these werewolves or these possible werewolves and dogmen or dogmen that got rid of the ninth? Oh, it is, ain't it? Uh, let me get ready. Needs a good solid Roman name or Norse name. I'll give you Eric the Fluffy. Hell yeah. Let's do some Dark Angel Medical. Here we go. Well, it wasn't playing on my end, so hopefully it played all the way through. Once again, it didn't play on my end. If you're looking for the best trauma kits or first aid kits on the market, look no further than Dark Angel Medical. You can go to darkangelmedical.com /trauma kits, tac kits, or /trauma tac kits. Use discount cryptid20 for 20% off. That's DA Roberts code. If you have FSA or HSA, you can use that towards buying your kits. There's a reason why I promote his product on my show. I don't get a dime for promoting his products. I like his products so much. That's why I asked to promote them on my show. I carry two of them. I have the headrest kit, which sits in my vehicle, and I have the one kit that was in the video that's attached to my field pack. That's how much I believe in his kits. Now, his kits are pricey. You pay for what you get. That's why I use Sezzle. 4 payments and it's paid off. That's how I buy my kits from Dark Angel Medicals through Sezzle. Kerry Pocket Doc Davis is the godfather of kit for life. If you use that kit to save a life and you let him know about it, and whatever you used, he replaces for free. His medicines have a 2-year shelf life on them. he does come to your area, and he is certified in trauma and first aid. So if you need a refresher class for your job, you can hire Carrie Pocket Doc Davis to come in and get you guys recertified. He also has classes on YouTube. It's called at youtube.com/ at Dark Angel Medical 5115, or Instagram at Dark Angel Medical. He does short shows about trauma and first aid. I highly recommend and going in over there and following those sites and watching his videos. Unreal says Rome's were sacked a few times by others, only the bounce back. Vandals, Huns, and had them also, but a plague was in Rome, so they didn't go in. Hannibal just about ended them. Yeah, watch, stay off my keyboard. You know better. I still think they went native. And that probably, genocide, that's one of the things. I guarantee you, if there was any survivors that happened, because that was a common thing to happen. Hey, AJ, that was a very common thing to happen back in that time. You know, there's been reports of that happening where Rome wasn't sending supplies, so they just integrated in with the local tribes. Or they did it because they were there for so long. That is possible. If there was any survivors by these Picts, or the beast that was with the Picts, then them assimilating into the local culture is not out of the realm of possibility. Eric's voice was blasting the werewolves and dogmen. Oh man, that's great. So I mean, I can't dispute that. I don't think that's what happened to the full Legion. I mean, I'll be real with you. I don't think that's what happened to the Legion. I think the Legion itself was annihilated by these werewolves, dogmen, or the combination of both, along with the regular Pict soldiers. But I will agree that I guarantee you some of them probably did survive, and they did assimilate in with the local culture, because there's too much proof of that happening. There's just way too much proof of that happening throughout history. And that's any culture any country that Rome had ever been, there's evidence of them integrating with the local culture. So, I mean, I can't dispute that part. I just don't think that's what happened to the Legion in the whole. They were vicious. Yeah, absolutely, they were vicious, Joanne. Yeah. And like I said in the beginning of the show, so many cultures that's fought against these Picts talked about how animalistic they were. They rarely lost in battle. So, I mean, that tells you that Rome went up against something that they weren't prepared to go up against. And then it's just funny how, the ninth disappeared, and they got that journal entry from Titus, and then 2 years later, Emperor Hadrian built the wall. And if you notice, after they built the wall, there wasn't that much of a push north of it anymore. I mean, that's a good point, William. Like I said earlier, they were talking about Picts that were more animalistic, wearing skins with strange runes on them, and talking about beasts that walked on two legs. That's why I think it was probably a combination of both werewolf and dogmen. Yeah. And I personally believe that, St. Christopher was a werewolf. How else would he get cured? A dogman is a natural born. They're not human. So if St. Christopher was cured, that would have to mean that he was a werewolf. It's unreal. Roxanne. Honey, you are being a big pain. Yeah, I know. Spoilt rotten little putty tat. You're pushing my hat up. Yeah, I know. You are. You're spoilt rotten, you old thing. Carl, let's get away if you get the chompers after you. I know you're beautiful inside. Oh, yeah. So I don't know, man. I think it's all possible. It's definitely weird. And of course I grew up being taught in schools that nobody knew what happened to them. They just completely vanished off the face of the planet. And I always said, man, they ran into something that they could not fight. And then I find that journal or that diary entry, and that pretty much confirms what I knew growing up. I knew it. I knew that was coming. Aurora, come on, man. You're jacking with my hat, honey. Quit. Unreal. William. So that's what so that's what I'm basing this book off of is that diary entry. And I really think that's what they ran into. I am willing to bet that's what they ran into, and that's what happened to them. Hey, Caleb, good seeing you, man. Are you feeling better, buddy? You said you read the journals, Eric. Yes, it was the diary entries, Amy. Yes, that was what I've actually got the diary entries and a prologue of that book. Yeah, yeah. Do you need me to read it again? I mean, what's in the prologue of that book is literally the diary entry from Primus Titus. Pilus Titus. That was the parchment that was given to Emperor Hadrian that he ended up burning. And then a couple of years later, he built the wall. But if you actually study the history of Rome's occupation in Britannia, once Emperor Hadrian built the wall, there was not much of a push past that anymore. That tells you he was protecting his conquered lands and his assets from something they could not fight. I mean, think about it. They built the wall, and rarely did anybody go outside of it. I mean, they had the gates, they had everything. They just didn't go past. I mean, Rome stopped right at that wall. So, I mean, that to me, that is just a clear sign that they ran into something they could not face. They found something that whooped their butts, and they protected. They built the wall as protection. Sounds like 15 minutes, cities. Yeah, it took a little longer than 15 minutes to build that wall. I mean, that literally went from one side of the island to the other. I mean, they cut the northern part of Britannia off. They cut it off. Rome was worried about something north of that wall. And that's what I've always said that. I've always said that from day one since I learned that. Is the only way you're going to build a wall in that manner is if you ran into something that you could not fight and you were protecting yourself from it. And then I find that diary entry in 2 years prior to them building that wall. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to go, that's what happened. And I could be completely wrong. I really could. But that was so unorthodox of Rome to do something like that. If Rome got their ass handed to them by something, hey, DA, If Rome got their ass handed to them by something, they came back in a greater force and conquered it. They didn't build a wall to block something from getting to them and halt movements past that. That was not Rome's MA. Meant being they didn't go out much after the wall was built. Sounds like they had 15 minutes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Dude, your claws. I was just listening to your interviews on the living ships for the 1,000th time. Oh, man. I wish we had you as a history teacher in high school. Maybe would have stayed awake. It could have been, I don't know, man. I almost became a teacher at one time, but I'm too much of an old Marine grunt NCO, so I probably wouldn't last long as a teacher. Romans demonized others and called them uncivilized, all the while being uncivilized for the most part. Yeah, and that's why I wrote it in my book. Let me pull it up here. There's a certain passage in this book, but this is literally how Romans thought of barbarians. You can find it in so many Roman writings. Oh, dude, quit your claws. Let me find it this way here. This would be a quick way to find it. They are dirty, they are ignorant, they stink, and they are very uncivilized. They are dirty, and every time they look upon us, I cannot help but think they are imagining ways to slit our throats. I wrote that in there for a reason because that's literally how they saw barbarians. Now, barbarians is a derogatory term that Rome called anybody that was not like them. They called them barbarians. That's where that term comes from. So, I mean, anybody that was in that barbaric class, according to Rome, literally how that was in that writing is how they thought about them people. They were innovative, groundbreaking, still barbaric, only with shiny armor on. Yeah, yeah, unreal. Yeah. I mean, so in that time, they were considered a civilized culture, yes, but their methods were extremely barbaric. Probably worse than most of the people they called barbarians. Even in the games, they would be called a barbarian horde. That was a derogatory term. That meant somebody that was not like them. It was such an honor and a privilege to have him as my husband. Oh, I missed something there. Sorry. Oh, okay. As if the Romans were any better in all their slaughter and slanders out tongues. Yeah. No wonder why the Vatican has a wall around it. Yeah. But stop and think about it. And you guys are more than welcome to debate it on me or not. But anybody knows anything about Roman history, they did not build a wall from one side of the island to the other if they got their butt whooped. They came in at a greater force and conquered whatever whooped their butt. I'm a firm believer Hadrian Wall was built because they found something that they could not defeat. Carl says, I was called a barbarian by my wife because of the school I went to was famous for fighting. I get that one. They just seized power after years and years of raiding and being raided. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, you guys are more than welcome to debate me on that, but I've studied Roman culture for a long time, and that was just Hadrian Wall was so uncharacteristic of what they did. Prime example, the Great Wall of China was built to keep the Huns out. You know, Hadrian's Wall could have been to keep these werewolves and these dogmen out. Okay, quit beeping. I get it. You're on a slow chart. Okay, that's it. I cannot take your claws no more. Quit digging your claws into me, honey. Ow. Oh my gosh, shut up. I get tired of that constant beeping. I acknowledge that you sent me a message. Now quit. Oh my gosh, I'm done fighting you. Ah. Oh my gosh! Stop. Okay, I'm unplugging you. I'm getting tired of hearing that beep. I don't know if you guys can hear it on the mic or not. It keeps coming up saying slow charge, and I understand it, but dang, quit. Rome just beeped out, fell to their false knees, walled themselves in, and corrupted the world behind of the holy robe. Yeah, I believe that. The Welsh were left with little Rome culture to a degree, unless I'm mistaken. So the Welsh were by the time that the Nordic people came to England, to Britannia, Britain, the only ones that were not sacked by the Sacs and the Saxons and the Anglos was the Welsh. So the Welsh were the few remaining true to the old ways of Britannia. So there was a lot of Roman culture left in Britannia when Rome left. The Welsh were the least affected by them. So it was after Rome left when the Saxons and the Anglos started to make a push in. Yeah, that's what they said. The Picts out, but we're getting this diary entry saying there was more than just Picts on the other side of that wall. Nope, it was my 5-pack genocide. I mean, I'm a firm believer. If it was just Picts and it was nothing else, Rome wouldn't have built that wall. They would have came in with more legions and just took the north by sheer force. If it was just Picts that they were fighting. That's why I believe this diary entry is pretty real, because it makes sense for everything that happened. Hey, Tanya, we were just talking about you earlier. Was your ears a burning? Eric the Welch and architecture was influenced by the Romans. The castles, the earth workings, and led them. Oh my gosh! Sorry, it bounced. Helped them defend against the Saxons. Yes, but what I'm talking about is they were the last of the true Britons. Now, when the Sacs came in to Britannia, they conquered quite a bit of Britain. The Sacs and the Anglos did. So that's where you get that transformation of being Britons to Saxon and Anglo. Welsh is the only ones that didn't happen. Does anyone know what might cause tip of the tongue and lips to be numb? Did you bite them? I'm not sure on that one. Try not to be harsh. My first aunt claims Rome had different bloodlines. I'm even more convinced of it these days. Yeah. Hey, there you go, Bounty. That's a good one. Yeah, that's actually a good possibility. Yeah, allergic reaction. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just proven throughout history. Anytime that Rome got their asses beat, they came back with a greater force and just by sheer numbers beat their opponents down. So if it was just Picts, I don't see him building a wall just for that. Sorry. Just does not fit with the Roman way of life, the Roman ethos, or whatever it is you want to call it. And that's just my opinion. That is literally just my opinion. So, oh, you guys may think differently. Oh, okay. That's for Tonya. Because Tonya's in here. Or the Scots north of the Roman. Well, yes, the Picts. So, I mean, yeah, I was a believer that Picts were Scottish, or the Scottish became Picts, or one of the ways of that. But like what I was reading earlier, they literally called the Scots Picts. They were from Scotland. Um, I've seen so many different things about Picts. I never could get a definitive thing. Just the one that stuck out to me the most, that they were tied to the Scots in one way or another. So when you start reading the history after Rome left, it talks about how Britons were defending themselves against the Picts and the Scots. Now the Britons will classify them as two different people. Because when I first learned about the Picts, I thought they were Scots. That was my belief, is they were Scots. But when I start reading these old British poems about fighting after the Roman left, they classify Picts and Scots separately. I would say so. That's why I said that one time that I'm wondering if the Irish were not the Picts, because the Irish and the Scots are cousins. So it makes you wonder if the Irish weren't Picts. I don't know. Yeah, they are. They are unreal. Yeah, they're literally cousins. Yeah, they literally are cousins. So the realm of possibility of the Picts actually being Irish people is not out of that realm of possibility. You'll see a lot of stuff that basically claims that the Picts are Scottish, which would make sense. Because if the Irish weren't in Ireland at that time when Rome left Britannia, then that wouldn't make sense. Then they just conquered Ireland and became the Irish. That would fit perfectly to that puzzle. Not saying that sure, but if you go by the British poems, they'll tell you they were fighting Picts and Scots. You've been my friend in places on YouTube and gave me courage to keep going, and thank you for. Never. I thought, okay, I see you. It wouldn't be surprising if they shared some cultures for sure. Oh, they do. They absolutely do. Yeah. Hey, Arlen. Yes, they do. Yes, you're right. They do both speak Gaelic. Yes. And that's why I'm saying that it's not out of that realm of possibility that the Picts were actually what we call Irish nowadays. So you have to think about that. That has to be in the realm of possibility when you're thinking. The language is, yes, the language is very, very close. Yes. The Celtics were from northern Italy and southern French border of Spain, Ireland, England, and Germany. Yeah, I think I remember seeing something about that. Oh crap! They're already calling for a next storm cycle, like Mohawk and Cherokee. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's definitely there. I mean, look at the Sioux and the Cheyenne. Same concept. One of the Sioux people left and became the Cheyenne. So I mean, that very well could be what we're seeing there, and that'd be a good reason why they did so well together. And think about it, one of the common paintings for Irish war battle was also blue, the same as the Scots, the same as the Picts. So I mean, if you got these three entities that have the same kind of type of war paint, obviously they're tied together somehow. So, I mean, you have to consider that. But I mean, after reading all this and learning this stuff, I'm a firm believer that the Legiō IX Hispana was taken out by werewolves and dogmen, along with the Picts and the Scots. I do believe this was a rare documentation of werewolves and dogmen fighting side by side against a common enemy. I really think that. That's my beliefs. I'm not telling you that's truth. I'm not telling you that's what you got to believe. I just believe that myself, based off of this, kind of fits that. Eric, a truer statement has not been spoken. Thank you, Arlen. I appreciate that. Eric, Seminole, and Muskogee are the same way. Cousins, all once. Creeks. Yeah, most part. Thanks, Carl. Yeah. So I don't think the way mainstream historians think. I'm sorry. I'm not a part of that culture. I give a piss less about mainstream. Mainstream is basically, this is my idea. If you don't like it, I'm going to destroy your life because I'm making money and I'm popular and I'm somebody. So I'm going to defend it. And that's exactly what happens in mainstream science, mainstream history, mainstream archaeology, and all that stuff. That is exactly how that world works. You cannot get an ounce of proof proving these people wrong because they fight tooth and nail and destroy people's lives. Because if you take away what they found, now you're pissing the Adlet race off, bro. Why am I doing that, man? If you're never mind. Okay. If you're willing to do that because you can't admit, hey, my findings were wrong, which is the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, hey, man, this is what I found. This is my theory based off of my findings. They took the word theory out and made, I am an expert. And what I say is what goes because this is what I say. And they do. They destroy people's lives all the time for this stuff. This, I believe, is something that happened with the Lost Legion because I think this is why we haven't been able to find the truth because it goes against mainstream's expertise on what happened to them. They're no longer theories. They're expertise. This is fact because I said it's fact, and this is wrong. That is why giant skeletons have been confiscated. Absolutely, Arlen. Yes. For what it's worth, I love you all my friends, and thank you for being a part of my life because it really has been my honor and blessed. Yours too, Carl. I mean, you are a package delivery guy. We got to have you around, bro. 100%, Eric. Who cares about them anyways? Why are they arguing over Bigfoot? I'm going to go in the woods where I know one and actually learn from her. So they're stupid. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Donnie says we all just have way too much history and witness stories these days for it to be fake. Yeah. Unreal. Absence of proof is not proof of absence. Absolutely unreal. You do know that the Adlet race is right. I must be thinking different what Adlet race is. You got me thinking I'm confused to what the Adlet race is. I'm looking it up. Oh. Well, the thing is, it talks about the two different kinds, William. It talks about two different kinds. It talks about the Picts that were more animalistic, that wore furs, and they were talking about the ones that were that beast that walked on two legs. So they were actually talking about two different kinds in that one, William. Caleb says, us northern Cheyennes, of which I am 50% my blood, are very closely related to the Arapaho. We are Algonquin. That actually does sound familiar. Yeah, because William, his diary entry reads as such. Let me get back to the diary entry. Um, we were attacked by a demonic pack of barbaric Picts. They looked more like wild beasts than humans. Some of them were dressed in animal furs painted with strange runic signs. Others seemed to be two legged wild beasts. They tore us apart as if we were made of paper. So see this Primus, Titus, the Primus of the Ninth Legion, the first cohort. He was the centurion of the first cohort. Was talking about two different kinds of things they were fighting. Well, actually three. You break it down, he was talking about three different types of things he were fighting. Yep, wolf warriors. Yep. So I'm actually, they may not be called that by the Romans and the Britons, but it absolutely could be what they're talking about. Trying to make sure I didn't miss any comments here. The race of werewolves. Yep. My late wife was descended from the Cherokee. Heck yeah. I got Cherokee in my blood. When the Trails of Tears came through Pineville, Missouri, some of my family married the women off of the Trail of Tears. My one of my aunts, she was one of the last of the pure blood, the pure blood Cherokees in my family, and he described the transformation process. In my opinion, that very well could be absolutely. She was telling me about. I remember at one of the family reunions. We used to have our family reunions in Pineville all the time, and that was back when I used to listen to great grandpa's tales all the time. His stories about their life, our family's life. But she was an aunt. She was one of the women that was married by my family off the Trail of Tears, and she lived there in Pineville until she passed. They call us Cheyenne warriors, dog soldiers, because we fought like crazy dogs. Yep. Parent told grandma was full blooded. Hell yeah. Yeah. She I loved listening to her stories about how she when she was a young woman, she was taken from her home from the Georgia area, if I remember right, and walked across the country. And when she got to Pineville, one of my relatives fell in love with her, and I got married. And I guess some of my family did have like 4 or 5 of the women off the Trail of Tears had married him. Cherokee have a history of being in the most close contact among all the tribes. The Southeast tribes to the degree, yeah, they were one of the 5 civilized tribes, and they knew about the cross and they knew about Jesus and a lot of the other stuff too. Then, so I mean, William, I mean, that's another good point. I didn't think about that of them actually catching them during the transformation. And his last words literally read this: we should never invade these lands. I hear demonic howls. They are coming. They are coming. That literally was the last words he wrote in that diary entry. So that could be true. Yeah, I mean that's definitely an approach we got to look at. What may have taken them out. Close contact with settlers, long time period of fighting, trading, marrying. Yeah, I mean this is valid points. That's why I love discussing this. I really do. I have a little Cherokee and a strong Irish in me, and I'm Cajun on top. Yeah, most of my bloodline can be traced back to the Norse and the Danes because a lot of that stuff, the German, all the Nordic people were German. So I mean that's where the Germans going to come in along with the Norse and the Dane. The Irish, my family alone had conquered and lived in most of Ireland. The Scottish too. And that's why the Scottish, the English. My bloodline was in all three of those countries. So is that where I got my Irish, my Irish, my Scottish, and my English from? Absolutely. My family history says that we were lords of Oxfordshire, England, from the time of Dane law up until the French came over. I've read where some believe that the Cherokee are the lost tribe of Israel. Yes, and their bloodline, all the five civilized tribes that they talk about, if you do a DNA test of them, come back as Israelite. Why do you think we have the skinwalker ceremony, bro? Certain indigenous bloodlines have the connection. Yeah, there you go. That's why I was under the speculation. I thought they were fighting both the werewolves and the dogmen because of that description and what you were talking about there. And it could be right. I mean, it could be that they were caught in the transformation. That could also be a possibility. Bounty, most of your encounters say the first few transformations are the most painful. It is, Tanya. We miss you, sweetie. My other grandparents were coon asses. Yeah, opposite from my grand. Yeah, my good friend of mine looks like me, but he's Cajun. He'll straight up and tell you he's a coon ass. That makes sense, actually, Amy. Mom, my other side, blood relative that was a king. Yeah. The other 50% of my bloodline is Persian, aka German, hell of a mixture. Hell yeah. That's why so many indigenous people go missing. Yeah, I believe you're right, buddy. I mean, I believe that's a damn good possibility. Absolutely. My mom's dad, my Cherokee grandfather, was against her marrying my father. So things were always interesting. Oh, I can see that. He was a white man. Yeah. A lot of that stuff happened. My great grandmother Smith was full blooded Cherokee. And it's funny because she was very racist against Native people. She did not like Native people, but her herself was 100% Cherokee. And that's on my Smith side. She married a white man, was very religious, but absolutely could not stand Native people. And I always thought it was funny because I was always like, man, that's kind of hypocritical because that means you have to hate yourself, Grandma. But she was very psychic. Like if you was looking for something and you had your back turned, and you not say a damn word to her. You're just sitting there looking. She go second cabinet, third shelf, back, left hand side, and you look right there, and it's exactly what you're looking for. And she's not watching you or nothing. You haven't told her, and she can tell you exactly what you're looking for. But she really hated Native people. So I always thought, man, that's hypocritical, Grandma, because you yourself are 100% Cherokee. I can't remember. I think she was a part of a missionary or something. Anyway, she was taken to a missionary or something, and then eventually, like after graduating or whatever, that's how she met my grandpa on the Smith side, and they got married, and they've been married ever since. Something along that lines is what happened. I can't remember. I didn't associate with my Smith side of the family a whole lot because they were into dark magic. I have my great grandmother's maiden name. My last name should be Shelton. Never mind. I'm sorry. I had to laugh on that one because I thought Big Bang Theory right off the bat. My descendants from nobility, Sir Edward D. Shelton. Hell yeah, man. There you go. Unreal says, I really think early contacts with tribes was very possible. The Vikings made some contact. Oh, yeah. Though I'd say most of an early contact was absorbed or killed by. So there was a tribe of white native people that had long red hair and long red beards. And I'm not talking about the giant side. I'm talking about an actual Native American tribe. I sincerely think that was a tribe of the Nordic people. I could be wrong. That's just my theory. Just because there's too much evidence of the Nordic people being from one end of this continent to the next. So what the natives call a white native tribe absolutely could be a possibility that was a village of Nordic people. Crazy Dog is what my Cheyenne given name is, while Von Cope is my German name. Oh, interesting, Caleb. My family Smith side said we can't talk about natives except one of the uncles. Interesting, Bounty. That's very similar to what it is on my Smith side. Eric could be, yeah. Nobody else did, and I love her immensely. That's very interesting you say that because that was very much how my Smith side of the family was. But a lot of them practiced dark magic. Even though they claimed to be Christians, a lot of them practiced dark magic. That was very, very big on my Smith side. See, my mom's mother was a Smith. My mom's dad was a testerman. So that's how I got bloodline with the Smith families when my grandpa married my grandma. Donna Rose Smith was my grandma, my mom's mom. Robert Testerman was my mom's dad. Bounty says my nana married a Smith, had 3 boys after she had 3 girls with a Simpson. Damn, that sounds way too familiar. Cheyenne had the dog soldier warriors. Yes, they did. This family number 3 and twins. Twins is very prominent on my Testerman side. A lot of my family have twins. My oldest daughter had twins. She just never survived birth. She never lived to birth, I should say. Yep. So we're coming up on the 8 o'clock hour. Had kind of a late start because I had some technical problems. Could be my internet. Could be they don't like what I'm talking about. Could be common. I don't know. I'm just going to chalk it up to internet problems. So some of my closing thoughts. Everything we discussed is a damn good possibility. All this was for entertainment purposes only. This is not the views and opinions of the Bizarre and the Unknown channel. It is my opinion, my personal opinions, thoughts, theories, and hypotheses. And it's all based of what I'm writing in the book that I'm working on. Still have them, I would say. Yeah, probably. Um, my personal opinion, my theory is they ran into both kinds, and Rome found a force that they could not defeat. And that was the whole purpose of building Hadrian's Wall, is to protect them from the supernatural and the magic that was on the other side of the wall. Well, until next time, guys, I love you. Hey, take it easy, Amy. Thank you for coming in. Carl says, Eric, I like what you talked about. It is interesting for sure and up my alley. Oh, yeah. I love that type of stuff. These family things with the number 3 and the twins hiding info is annoying. I will stop talking. My phone freaking out. It's, oh, I get that. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I look forward to your comments for those who watch it after the live. Please like, subscribe, comment, share this out. Let's build this amazing bizarre and unknown universe. From my new subscribers to my OGs, we're knocking on that 800 mark. I'm going to be doing something special when we hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. Okay. Thanks, Amy. Sorry about that, sweetie. And we're fastly approaching. In 2 weeks, we'll hit our 100th episode. I don't know what I can do for a 100th episode. I haven't got a much right here to do. If I can come up with something, we'll do something for the 100th episode, but that's in 2 weeks. We're literally 2 episodes away. This is episode 98. So, I mean, this has been fun. I mean, I've had a lot of fun doing this and getting to meet all you interesting people. And I'm truly blessed for every single one of you guys, from my noob subscriber to my OGs. I mean, Roxanne is one of my OGs. You know, I'm truly blessed for this stuff. Everybody give a shout out to my mods, Roxanne, Jeff, William. You know, they're a great help. You know, I'm truly blessed to have their insights, even William's insights. I mean, this stuff is fun. And I like this stuff. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I'm in a conundrum on what classification I put this genre of put this book in, because it is historical fiction, but it's also got cryptids in it, so it can also be classified as a historical fiction cryptid horror. So, I mean, it's hard to say what it is, but this book is an actual historical fiction book. This is a book based off of historical information about the Lost Legion. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next week, everybody, peace, love, and blessings to you all. And thank you so much for coming in and joining me. And I hope you guys have a great week. And I look forward to hearing from you guys again. Until next time, everybody. Bye.